There's a place where the future is born, not in the gleaming labs of Silicon Valley, nor in the quiet halls of academia, but in a modest, unremarkable building in Arlington, Virginia. This place doesn't have a grand name, just a dry acronym: DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. But behind these dull words lies the most insane, most creative, and most secretive incubator of ideas on the planet. This is where the wildest fantasies of science fiction writers become blueprints, and then reality. Robots that walk like animals, bullets that change course in mid-flight, drones launched from cargo planes that return to be recovered, prosthetics controlled by the power of thought, and even the internet you're using right now. All this and more was born in the depths of DARPA. It's not just a scientific organization. It's the Pentagon's brain, its crystal ball, peering decades into the future. Its mission is not simply to create new weapons, but to prevent technological surprises, to create such breakthrough technologies that they render any enemy army obsolete before a war even begins. The people who work here aren't bureaucrats, but dreamers and rebels, geniuses and madmen, who have been given virtually unlimited resources and total freedom to create at the very edge of what is possible. And today, we will pull back the curtain of secrecy on this amazing place. Before we get to the main part, we'd like to ask for a little support. Liking and subscribing is the best way to show your appreciation. Thank you, get ready. We're embarking on a journey into the most incredible and mind-bending projects at DARPA, which are already shaping the world and wars of tomorrow, today. To understand why DARPA even exists, we need to go back to October 4th, 1957. On that day, the Soviet Union stunned the world by launching the first artificial Earth satellite. The small metal sphere broadcasting its famous beep 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 signal was a deafening slap in the face for America. It wasn't just a technological breakthrough, it was a strategic nightmare. The country that considered itself the undisputed technological leader suddenly found itself playing catch-up. The Soviets were in space, and that meant that tomorrow, they could deliver a nuclear warhead to any point on the planet. In response to this Sputnik shock, President Dwight D. Eisenhower created a new agency in 1958. Its original name was ARPA. Without the defense, its mission was stated with utmost clarity: to prevent technological surprise like the Sputnik launch, and conversely, to create technological surprise for us adversaries. DARPA was built on completely unique principles. It's not a giant bureaucratic structure. It's a small, agile organization of a few hundred people, mostly temporary project managers. These managers, the best minds from universities, private companies, and military labs, come to DARPA for 3 to 5 years with a single goal: to bring their boldest, most revolutionary idea to life. They receive enormous funding and freedom of action unheard of in any other government agency. Their task is not to improve existing technologies by 10 or 15%, but to make game-changing breakthroughs. They are not afraid to take risks. On the contrary, DARPA's motto is, "If we're not failing, we're not risking enough." Most DARPA projects do, in fact, end in failure. But the few that succeed pay for all the costs and change the world forever. One of the first and certainly the most famous creation of DARPA was a project you are using right now. In the late 1960s, at the height of the Cold War, the agency faced a challenge: how to ensure reliable communication between command centers in the event of a nuclear war. Existing systems were centralized. The destruction of a single keynode would cause the entire network to collapse. And so, a revolutionary idea was born at DARPA: to create a decentralized network with no central hub, a network where every computer could communicate with any other, and data would be transmitted in small packets that could find their own way to the recipient, bypassing damaged sections. This network was named ARPANET. Initially, it connected just for universities in the US. No one at the time imagined that this military project, designed for survival in a nuclear apocalypse, would, a few decades later, evolve into the World Wide Web, the Internet, which would change civilization beyond recognition. This is a classic example of how DARPA works. Solving a narrow military problem leads to the creation of a dual-use technology that changes the lives of billions. But the internet is just the tip of the iceberg. DARPA is behind the creation of dozens of technologies we now consider common. GPS navigation, without which we can't imagine driving a car, grew out of the Transit Project, created for the precise guidance of ballistic missiles from submarines. Voice assistants like Siri or Alexa are descendants of speech recognition programs that DARPA developed for controlling fighter jets and analyzing intelligence data. Even the computer mouse and the graphical user interface, which make computers accessible to everyone, were developed as part of research funded by DARPA. But that's all in the past. So what is the agency doing today? What insane ideas are brewing in its depths right now, poised to become our reality in 10 or 20 years? Let us take a look at 5 of the most incredible projects that show where the minds of military futurists are headed. The first project, which staggers the imagination, has a name straight out of a Hollywood movie. Remember the old idea of flying aircraft carriers? Giant airships or planes carrying squadrons of fighters. That idea proved too complex and dangerous in the era of manned aviation. But now, in the age of drones, DARPA has decided to revisit it. The Gremlins program envisions a system where a conventional transport aircraft, like the C-130 Hercules, can launch, and more importantly, recover in midair a whole swarm of small, reusable unmanned aerial vehicles. Picture this: a transport plane, operating at a safe distance from enemy air defenses, releases dozens of these drones, equipped with sensors, electronic warfare systems, or even warheads, fly deep into enemy territory, carry out their mission, be it reconnaissance, jamming radars, or destroying targets, and then return to their mothership. A special robotic arm deployed from the transport catches them in the air and pulls them inside. Within hours, they are refueled, rearmed, and ready for another mission. This completely changes the tactics of aerial warfare. Instead of risking expensive multi-billion-dollar fighter jets and the lives of pilots, the Air Force can use cheap, expendable, or reusable drones, overwhelming the enemy with sheer numbers. This isn't just a weapon, it's a flying hive, capable of unleashing an unstoppable wave upon the enemy. Prototypes of this system are already being tested, and while the process of catching drones in mid-air is still fraught with challenges, DARPA is confident that this technology will become a reality in a few years. The second project sounds even more fantastical. It's called Exacto, which stands for Extreme Accuracy Tasked Ordnance. Simply put, it's a self-guiding bullet. We're all used to the idea that a sniper's job is an art, requiring the consideration of dozens of factors: distance, wind, humidity, the Earth's rotation. But what if the bullet could correct its own trajectory in flight? That's precisely the problem the Exacto project solves. This technology completely changes the rules of sniper warfare. It makes shots at extreme ranges and in the most challenging weather conditions possible. Of course, for now, such bullets are incredibly expensive, and there's no talk of arming every soldier with them. But for Special Forces units carrying out critical missions, this weapon could be a decisive factor. It's a technology that blurs the line between ballistics and robotics, turning every shot into a guaranteed hit. It's almost magic, made real by DARPA's engineers. The third project takes us from the world of weapons to the world of biology and robotics. At DARPA, they understood long ago that nature, over millions of years of evil, has created far more perfect and efficient systems than any engineer could devise. So they decided not to reinvent the wheel, but to learn from the best. This led to a whole series of projects to create so-called biomimetic robots, machines that move and behave like living creatures. The most famous of these was the robot Big Dog, created by Boston Dynamics on a DARPA contract. It was a four-legged robot designed to carry gear for soldiers over difficult terrain where no wheeled or tracked vehicle could go. But it wasn't just a walking mechanism. Big Dog had an incredible dynamic stabilization system. It could walk on rocky slopes, through snow and ice, and it maintained its balance even when kicked hard. Videos of its tests went viral, sparking a mixture of awe and a certain unease. The robot moved with an unsettlingly lifelike quality. Although the Big Dog project was eventually cancelled because its gasoline engine proved too noisy for combat conditions, it spurred the creation of a whole generation of walking robots. Today, Boston Dynamics, now an independent company, creates astonishing robots like Atlas, which can do backflips, and Spartan, which is already being used for patrolling and inspecting industrial sites. And DARPA has gone even further. They are funding projects to create robots that mimic cheetahs, capable of running at incredible speeds, insect-like robots that can infiltrate buildings for reconnaissance, and even robots that replicate the flexibility and movement of snakes and worms. The goal of all this research is to create machines that can operate in complex, unpredictable urban or natural environments as effectively as living organisms, performing tasks that are too dangerous for humans. The fourth area of DARPA's research may seem the most frightening, yet at the same time, the most promising. It's neural interfaces, or brain-computer interfaces. The idea is to create a direct link between the human brain and electronic devices. Initially, the goal of these programs was to help veterans who have lost limbs. DARPA launched the revolutionizing prosthetics program. Its task was to create a robotic arm that not only looked like a real one, but would be controlled directly by brain signals. And they achieved incredible success. Tiny electrodes were implanted in the brains of patients with amputations, which read their intentions. As a result, a person could control a highly complex prosthesis with the power of thought, moving each finger, picking up fragile objects, and even feeling sensations of touch, thanks to feedback that transmitted signals from the prosthesis' sensors back to the brain. This is no longer science fiction, it's clinical reality. But the military applications of this technology are obvious. Imagine a fighter pilot who controls their aircraft not with a joystick and buttons, but directly with the power of thought. Their reaction time would be limited not by the speed of their hands, but by the speed of thought. They could simultaneously control the flight, weapons, systems, and analyze dozens of information streams. This would give them a colossal advantage in combat. Or an operator of a drone swarm, who doesn't command each drone individually but controls the entire swarm as a single organism, an extension of their own body. Of course, We are still a long way from that, and many ethical questions arise. But DARPA is already working on non-invasive neural interfaces that do require implanted electrodes, but can read brain activity using special helmets. This is the path toward creating a true human-machine symbiosis, a cyborg, the soldier of the future. And finally, the fifth project, which shows just how far over the horizon DARPA is looking. It's the 100-year Starship project. Yes, you heard that right. A defense agency is funding research dedicated to interstellar travel. Of course, this doesn't mean the Pentagon is building a starship to fly to Alpha Centauri right now. The project's goal is far more subtle and clever. DARPA understands perfectly well that creating an interstellar ship will require dozens of fundamental breakthroughs in a wide range of fields, new energy sources capable of operating for decades, closed-loop life support systems, artificial intelligence capable of autonomous decision-making, new materials that can withstand cosmic radiation. The 100-year Starship project is not so much a plan to build a ship, as it is a catalyst for breakthrough research. DARPA is throwing down a challenge to the scientific community, saying, "Here is a grand, almost impossible task. To solve it, you will have to invent things we can't even dream of today. And all the ancillary technologies that emerge from this research will find applications here on Earth, and primarily in the defense sector. New compact and powerful energy sources are needed not just for a starship, but also for powering laser weapons or supplying energy to remote bases. Ultra-reliable life support systems will be useful for submarines or sealed bunkers. Thus, under the guise of a beautiful and inspiring dream of the stars, DARPA is stimulating the creation of dual-use technologies that will ensure America's technological superiority for decades to come. This is an example of strategic thinking at the highest level. They aren't just solving today's problems. They are investing in ideas that will bear fruit in 50 or 100 years, shaping a future we can't even imagine yet. That is DARPA, a place where the impossible is just a statement of work, where the boldest dreams become reality, and the future is created every day. And while many of their projects will remain on the drawing board, the few that break through into the real world will continue to change our civilization in ways we are only beginning to comprehend. Your support, including liking and subscribing, is very important to us. And don't forget to click the bell icon to stay up to date and never miss our new videos.